So, welcome to Coding Culture. So, what we do actually as engineers, as software developers, is we think about our code day in, day out. We try to improve our code so it's more maintainable. We try to make it nicer, make the quality better. We try not just think about the code, we also think about the product, how to make the product better. And we think about how can we make it more user-friendly and stuff like that. Or which database should we use in the background, or which web framework should we use. All this stuff. So we're talking about this day in, day out. What we sometimes tend to forget is to talk about how we want to do stuff together as a team. How do we want to, what are our values, our beliefs? What's that? And we tend to not to talk about that a lot. It's just happening. But it's very important, I think. And this is what this talk is about. It's really the fundamental of our software development culture. So think about your culture a little bit more, and I hope I give you some ideas here, how you can build a strong engineering coding culture in your organization. But first, I want to give you a warning. You may think, Sven, all the things you say today, that's profane. We all know this stuff. Yeah, maybe it's profane. Maybe it's easy for you to, or you think, yeah, we know that. But sometimes it's good to get reminded what is really important for us as engineers or as developers. And also, I will talk today about how you be transparent. And on the other hand, I talk about how to respect each other. And these two things goes hand in hand. This is part of our culture at Atlassian. And these things goes hand in hand. You cannot be transparent and open but not respecting each other. That will go really, really badly if you have discussions and rant about each other. That's not good. That's not a good culture. So profane, but maybe still important. So I'm prepared for this talk. So I've been reading a lot about organizational culture. And I want to start with that, what people say about organizational culture. I was also thinking, so where's the definition of organizational culture? And if you're looking for definitions on the internet, where are you going? Wikipedia. Yeah, so I went to Wikipedia and typed in organizational culture, and there's a long article. And if you read this article, Wikipedia says about organizational culture, it's about our visions, our values, our norms, our systems, our symbols, our language, our assumptions, our beliefs, and our habits. And if you read this long article, it takes you maybe 5 minutes to read this article through, you still think about, so what is culture? I have this in my head about culture. A very fluffy thing. You cannot really touch it. It's something, what is that? Is that a rabbit or a guinea pig? I have no freaking clue. And it's the same with culture. It's hard to touch culture and to describe it. So first thing I tried to describe culture to you, I failed. Sorry for that. Let's try a second try here. A culture that makes developers happy. We all want to be happy at work, don't we? Yeah. So what makes us happy? Beer on tap. Yay. Great. We have that at Atlassian. This is our Charlie's bar in Sydney. What else? Ping pong and free food. Woo! Have a game of ping pong in the kitchen in San Francisco, in our San Francisco office, and just go to the fridge, take a free Coke. Great. What else do we have? What's our culture here? Nerf guns. I mean, I don't know if you're shooting around with Nerf guns, but our engineers, we shoot ourselves with Nerf guns all the time. Very funny. But sad that is this here, what I just put on the slide, has nothing to do with culture. It doesn't really show your culture. It's just what you do, but has nothing to do with how you actually work together. So this is not culture. Second try to explain you what culture is. I failed again. So give me a third try, please. So let's put it this way. Bad culture. Ooh. We all know when we're working in a culture that is, I won't say bad, but it's not really good for us as developers. So let me tell you a story. When I worked for another company, and it was a bigger company, so I was leading the web development team, and there was actually another team doing the embedded software. And of course, the web software had to talk to the embedded software, so One day I found a bug in the embedded software. So I raised an issue in Jira and said, hey, there's a bug, please fix that. It came back with won't fix. I said, what the fuck? There's an obvious bug. Why don't you want to fix it? So I talked to my manager, talked to the manager from the embedded team, talked to their team. We had a meeting after a 1.5 week. We had a meeting, we discussed it. They said, it's not really a bug, but okay, we fix it for you. So 1 month later, I had the fix, so I can go on with my web software. Stupid, isn't it? I mean, actually, when they would have given me the code, I would have fixed the bug immediately. I could have fixed the bug immediately if I would have access to the code in the embedded software, but they won't let me. So I won't say this was a bad culture, but something is wrong here. If organizations actually doing stuff like that or pushing people to do stuff like that, that's really bad. I won't say that it's just a bad culture, but it's showing that something is wrong with the culture. So why are actually companies, organizations doing this? Why do they let us do this? I think it's his fault. We can blame him here. That's Frederick Winslow Taylor, famous for his Taylorism. Beginning of last century, he actually invented the work on the assembly line. So he put people on the assembly line and said, hey, you do just this stuff all day long. You just put stuff together, like machines normally do. But we need humans for that. So you put just stuff together. You don't have to think about that. Very efficient. And I think at that time that was fine because we had to know what's coming out of the assembly line. If we can produce, I don't know, 20 cars or 30 cars, we have to know that somehow. And it's very easy. You can really predict if people just doing the same thing all over the day, the whole day. You can really predict how much work they can do, and you can be you can make your assembly line very efficient that way. But there were people also. They needed also people to think about how do we put together the assembly line? How do we do that? So what they did is they invented these guys here, the managers. Yay! These are the people to think, actually. So they think about day in, day out, how can we make the assembly line more effective, and stuff like that. So actually, Henry Ford once said that I don't want my workers to think. They should just do their work, come to work at 8, leave at 5 or whatever, and don't think in between. My managers are supposed to think. That's the guys. All right, so times have changed. I mean, we're not putting stuff together anymore. We're developers. So, because the work has changed, we use actually our brains. We need our innovation, creativity to put stuff together. And also people have also changed. We don't just want to put stuff together and leave the work. We just want to see our ideas come to life. Our ideas that we have, and they come to life and used by thousands of customers. That's a great feeling. That's what we want to have. People have changed. They have other expectations for work nowadays. Companies, well, I think there's some signs that they change, but it's actually a relatively slow change, I think. So to sum this up here. In the past, we were a little bit working like this guy here, Fred Flintstone. You know, Fred Flintstone, 5 p.m., the horn blows, yabba-dabba-doo, down the dinosaur, home to Vilma. That was the past. Now we are a little bit more like the Incredibles. There's something really important that has to be done. We have to save the world here. Yeah, okay, we jump on it. We put our hearts into this, what we're doing, and then maybe we work 2 hours more, or and then take the 2 hours off next week. Doesn't matter. We want to get it done. That's how we work right now, or how we want to work. I'm happy to work for a company that is really pushing me to do stuff like that, and that has, I think, a great engineering culture. I work as an evangelist, so I'm talking to people within Atlassian, how they work, and bring that to conferences, give them advices too. So that's my role. Yeah, you can tweet me, whatever. So, and at Atlassian, I started 4 years ago at Atlassian. Who knows Atlassian here? Mostly everyone? Okay, good. We're doing tools like Jira and Confluence and Chet. So maybe you have heard of that. So actually, I started 4 years ago with Atlassian. We were around 350 people. And now we are 1,700 people right now, so 4 years growth. And we're a bunch of cool guys. So we look like this, not all the time. Don't worry, that's not how we look all the time. That was our Halloween day, actually, where everyone came up dressed. I like this little panda here. Very cool. So actually, and but I mean, things change. Also, culture changes if you grow in that pace. And now we are a little bit more looking maybe like this. So this is our picture we just took 3 weeks ago. We're a little bit more serious now. We are an enterprise company. We're a little bit more serious, but we don't. This is actually our formal Friday, what we call formal Friday instead of a casual Friday. We have sometimes a formal Friday where we dress up like very, very formally and have fun together. So this is, I don't know, once or twice a year we're doing that. All right, so let's start with culture here. So let's start with a culture of innovation. And innovation, I think it's so important. It's so important for us as engineers that we have innovation, because it goes like this: innovate or die. I mean, you need to put innovation into your product in order to succeed for the next year or next 2 years. Depending on in which industry you're working on, you have a little bit more time not to do innovation, but I think your competitor will overtake you anyway if you don't put innovation into your products. So, where does the innovation come from? From your employees. Sure. So, what does the organizations do? They say, hey, we are an innovative company, go out and do some innovational stuff. But you also have to do the work on the backlog and everything that's in there. So how do we motivate people? How do organizations motivate people? Well, they say, hey, you got $500 for an innovation idea. You can submit this innovational idea to the innovation committee. That looks at your innovational idea and says, Well, I've been working for companies that is doing stuff or that has done stuff like that, and I never have time to write down my idea, to make it readable for those people who reads this, to make a real pitch. I never have time for that. I work on the backlog, and I never have time to really work on my innovative idea. But that's actually the key. I mean, people have ideas all the time. So the key is just to give them time. Very easy, actually, to get innovational ideas. And you need maybe everyone has an idea, and wherever you get your idea, normally under the shower or during workout or whatever, but then you have your idea in your head, but you really need time to try it out. Is that really something that sticks? Is that really something that could work for our product? You need time to try that out. So what we do at Atlassian is we have this, we call Ship It Day. Well, it was called FedEx Day before, because you have to ship something in 24 hours or deliver something in 24 hours, so we called it FedEx Days. But then the Google results for if you were Googling FedEx were higher for our FedEx Days than for FedEx the company. So they asked us kindly to remove that or change the name, so we now call it Ship It Days. Anyway, it's the same concept. So what we do is the whole company comes together every quarter. And if I say the whole company, it's really, we started with engineers working on our products, so it was more a hackathon. But nowadays, it's really broad. The finance team takes part of the Ship It team, the marketing team, everyone takes part of the Ship It Day. And sometimes it's easy as not just building something that is cool for the product, but also something, so for example, the service team in Sydney, they have built a whiskey bar in a Ship It Day, because they wanted to have a whiskey bar at work and never had time to do that. So they took the Ship It Day to ship a whiskey bar. And this is if you're once in the Sydney office, there's a hidden door somewhere where the whiskey bar is behind. Anyway, so how is that working, a Ship It Day? So first, before the Ship It Day, we come together and brainstorm some ideas that we have, maybe that also some customers have, that we want to try out and think this could really be good for our products, and just try it out. So then there are teams forming around ideas, and some people are just taking their own idea and trying to make that happen. And then at a Thursday at 3 p.m., everyone stops working on the normal schedule and is doing and starting the ship it day. So Thursday, 3 p.m., ship it day starts. We have some pizza delivering, some coffee delivering, so everything is barista. We have a barista actually coming to our offices, so we can hack for 24 hours. Sad that is that most people leave at around 11 and come back at 6 o'clock in the morning. They take a nap at home, but some people sleep under the desk also. They think that's fun, and they are very productive with doing that. That's fine. So after the 24 hours, we really have to ship something. This is the aim of the ship it day, to ship something. And then we're showing our innovative idea. And this is the key, I think, to show your innovative idea that you've worked on for 24 hours, show that to the whole company. And then get applause for that. And then we are voting for the winner. Actually, the voting app is actually a ship it day project that we have. So we have a voting app for our iPhone and Android phones. So you get an idea. So this is something that we build in a ship it day. That's our product HipChat, and somebody says, okay, if people log into their language, maybe we can translate the HipChat messages. So everyone can type into their language, and we can automatically translate the HipChat messages into the language that the other person is logged in. So we're using some APIs from Google Translate there, and it's translating everything automatically. And this was a ship it day project. Actually, it turned out to be very, very simple. But sad that is, I think this one will never end up in the real product. We tried it out. We think, oh, that's great. It's a good showcase, but the translation is not very good right now. So we're not putting that into the product. But it was a try for innovative ideas. So what do you get out of a ship it day? Well, you get an innovative prototype. Something that is really working. It's a prototype, and I mean the code is not very polished. We fork the source code, and then we try everything out that we can, do some nasty tricks with the software. But sad that is, if you use Confluence, we have a feature called inline comments. I think we shipped that in the product half a year ago, and these inline comments were actually a ship it day project, but it was not just one ship it day project. It took us 4 ship it days to really say, this is something that looks good, that is not a hack in the code, that can scale, that we can put into the product. So this is really coming out of a ship it day, but it was the 4th try actually in a ship it day to make that happen. So we get a working prototype, but more importantly, what we get is happy developers. I mean, that's the reason why actually I became a developer. I want to create stuff. I want to get my own ideas shipped to the customer and see that the customer is very happy about what they get. So this is really, really something that I'm passionate about. Because this is really innovation for the masses. It's not some innovation department that has all the ideas, collect all the ideas and say, this is what we do, try it out, this is what we do. It's really everyone can innovate. Everyone can have great ideas, because actually ideas can happen to anyone at any time. I mean, everyone can have a great idea in the company. It's just, we just need to give them time to give them the possibility to let them grow their innovative idea and see if that's really, really something that sticks. All right, so far with innovation, very, very important part of our culture. But let's talk a little bit about happiness. I mean, this makes me happy. Ship it days, that's always fun. That's makes me happy if I'm coming from a ship it day, very tired, but have done some real stuff. And it's amazing what you can get what you can do in 24 hours if you're really passionate about it. So how does the organization encourage us to be happy? So what they do is actually they do this. They give us some great. I mean, we were doing Family and Friends Day. You may do a summer party or whatever. Some day where you come together with the rest of the company and talk to other people outside of your team, just also on all about private stuff. That's great. Or you do some team building. go river rafting, go mountain climbing, whatever. And with these days, it's great when you go out with your team, you learn about the strengths and weaknesses of your team members. Who can I really trust in extreme situations, and who's the guy who needs to think a little bit more, but then comes up with the idea, and then who's the guy who's just doing it. I think you need both parts, but you learn about that in these team building events, also to bond more into the team. And then we're doing something we call end of fiscal year parties. Last year it was games of code. We called it like this. So we're doing some games. So we're putting some people from different departments together in one team that has to do some task, and then there's obviously a winner, but I think everyone is a winner. It's a very, very fun day. So we're celebrating the end of the fiscal year. So having fun with coworkers is great. It builds relationships, not just in your team, but also outside of your team. You talk to finance people, to legal people, to marketing people. And as I said, you learn about the strengths and weaknesses in your team. Very, very important. But what are we doing? So these happens maybe once a year, twice a year. But what are we doing on a daily basis or on a weekly basis? We are agile, are we? We are agile, yeah. So we're doing sprints. Yeah, we're sprinting. And at the end of the sprint, what are we doing? We're looking back. We're doing a retrospective. We're looking back. What went good? What didn't went good? What should we improve in the next sprint? And then we go on to the next sprint. And then we look back and, yeah, we have to fix that. And go on to the next sprint, on to the next sprint. If we sprint like this, we are missing a point here. And I think Ferris Bueller, that's my favorite movie from the 80s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, says it in a very, very, very important sentence here. We tend to forget to stop and look back what we've done. So he says, actually, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it, and that's so true. We tend to forget to celebrate what we've done. We shipped a great feature. Yeah, come on. Let's celebrate that. Celebrate our team wins. So we can organize a release party if a release goes out or goes well, or if we ship the feature into our cloud instance and say, yeah, great, we shipped that feature to our customers, great. Or do a team offsite. Go out with the team before you kick off the next project. Go out with the team and celebrate what you have achieved. Or if you don't get budget, maybe from your managers, you can also just bake a cake and invite the stakeholders and sit together and show, this is great, look what we've done, and everyone can have a cake with you, you can have a talk, and then start with the next project. So stop and celebrate our team wins, very, very important. And we are very privileged as software developers. We can do that. We really deliver stuff to customers, and that we can celebrate on. Well, said that is not every team at Atlassian can say that. So for example, the service team. What can they celebrate? Well, they can celebrate, yeah, we answered 500 support cases. Yay, let's celebrate that. It's not really something that you see that you achieve, but our support team said, okay, good. Let's fix that and let's write down our values that we have. So these are our support team's values. They wrote that down, they put it on they voted on them, they put it on a poster, print out the poster, big poster in the office. And say, yeah, make the customer awesome. That's what we stand for. Make the customer awesome. This is something really important for us, for our hearts and minds. So, but said that is, if you come in and out of the office every day and you see that poster and says, oh, make the customer awesome, or you just answer the support case, okay, yeah, fix the damn thing, yeah, okay. Well, these things get blurry. You don't see that anymore. You don't realize that anymore. And they said, okay, after 2 years, we need to fix that. We need to really, really celebrate also our cultural wins. So they wanted to celebrate the cultural rock stars. So what every team does is they come together every 2 weeks and celebrate their cultural rock stars. So what they do is they write a poem for someone or write a rap song or just take a guitar and start singing.
Get hella shit done.
Yeah. What do you think how Rick and Jeff felt after they heard this song? They felt awesome. It's really it makes us happy if people appreciate what we've done actually. If we took extra time or whatever, or stand up for our cultural values, that's really important. So said that is, this makes us happier if we celebrate our cultural rock stars, and it helps us also to focus on, hey, every 14 days we celebrate what is really important for us as a team. Not that we answered 300 support cases, but what is really important for us as a team. All right, so talking about happiness, how happy are you? You're probably happy. You're sitting here now for 2 days at Vox Days Belgrade and having a good time, so you're probably happy. But what about your team? Do you know how happy your team is? Do you know that? Well, maybe not. Maybe you don't know how happy your team is. So how do you find out how happy your team is? As an organization, how happy are my employees? You do this here. Yeah, please fill that out and file that once a year. And we know how happy you are, what you don't like at work and what you like at work. Well, this sucks totally. And it's also slow feedback loops. I mean, you do it once a year. I can be 11 months unhappy without anyone noticing it, but just saying then, oh, now I'm unhappy. Well, anyway, so what we wanted to have is we wanted to have shorter feedback loops. So in the Ship It Day, we developed this one here. We call it the Mood app. And there's an iPad now at every exit at Atlassian. So if you leave the office, you just say, how happy have I been today? And then you can say, oh, happy, not so happy. And then we're measuring the results so we can see what the results are. Are people happy? Are they not happy? Is happiness increasing, decreasing? Do we have to do something? And stuff like that. So we actually have a feeling. We don't really know how happy they are, but we have a feeling what's happening inside the organization, how they feel. And then also, if you answer the same questions every day, yeah, that's also boring. So we're adapting the questions. So we also ask questions like, hey, does your manager understand what you like and what you don't like at your work? Does they really know how you can improve your own work? So, and you can say that. Or we're adopting the questions after our last company party. We were asking, hey, how happy are you? And people were feeling happy, like the guy on the right-hand side, but not very well after the party. Well, we will open source it, so you can download this directly here. So, said that is, Atlassian is of course not the only company that is measuring happiness on their employees to see how happy are they. Also, companies like Spotify does it. So Spotify also asks their employees, how happy are you? And 91% of the employees are happy. Whoa, great, let's go on. No, they wanted to know what's with the rest 9%. Why are they unhappy, actually? That's an important question. So what they did is they talked to the unhappy people. They talked to them and found some easy-to-fix things, some hard-to-fix things, and then they ask again, how happy are you? And they get 94% of the employees happy. Well, 94 is better than 91, but I think you cannot really get to 100%. At least they know the rest 6%. But why are they unhappy? They know that. So, happiness, great. Let's talk about balancing your passion. And let me explain what I mean with that by telling you the story here. So balance your passion. We're passionate software developers, but we also have to be passionate about what we build. So why do we code? I think for me, I can say that I code, or I like to code, because creating stuff makes me personally happy. When I create something, I already said that, and my customers using that makes me happy. Okay, what are the ingredients actually to create great software? What do I need to create great software? So let's ask the Swedish chef, hey, what do we need for great software? And he tells us, I need first the best tools that I can get. No matter if they're open source or not, well, I need good tools. Good tooling is very important. Okay, good. I need support from the management. That they don't say, we stop your project, or we take 10 people from your project and put in another team. Or if I can say I have to push the deadline 2 weeks, so I will release 2 weeks later. I need understanding from my management that they understand that this is really necessary. Okay, I also need a great culture of respect and trust. Of course, we're talking about culture here. That's also very important. And then I also need some passionate and talented, of course, also developers that can create great software. Give me that, and I can create you great software. If I got that. All right. Why do we code? Because creating stuff makes us happy. That's true, but there was an important ingredient missing, how we create great software. Because we create great software for our customers. If I can create great software that my customers like and that they're happy working with, then I'm happy. I'm a happy developer. So, and as software developers, sometimes we think about the code all day long, and that's very important. But we tend to forget the customer. And we have great customers at Atlassian. So, for example, meet Emma here. Emma is a great customer of ours. She's just currently started with Confluence, our collaboration platform. And if we think about a new feature that we want to build for Confluence, then we think about how will Emma use that feature? How will she? Is it very easy for her to discover that feature? She started new, so she needs to discover that feature. Is it very, very accessible for her? Can she find it very, very quickly? So we make it easy for Emma to use this feature. But said that, Emma is not our only customer. We also have William. And William is a long-time Confluence user who uses Confluence since 4 years. He's actually a Confluence administrator. He knows every keyboard shortcut. He's a real expert. And when we make maybe things easy for Emma, maybe we fuck things up for William and make it harder for William. So we also have to think about how can we make that feature easy, accessible for William and make it productive for William. Well, said that is these customer, Emma and William, they don't exist. We made them up. They are fake because we use personas. We have created some personas that represents customers of ours, different customers of ours. So, for example, Emma here, we have this card here where we talk a little bit more about Emma to get to know her better, what she's doing, what she likes, what she don't like, stuff like that. And we stick those on walls so we don't forget about our customers. And then we can go deeper into Emma's things here, her skills, what she loves, what she hates, and stuff like that, places she hang out. So we get a better understanding about Emma, what she likes and what she don't likes. And I said we're hanging that in the office so you can't really escape. They are everywhere in the office. There are these personas, so you see them every day, and you can't really escape. Even on the bathrooms, we have personas, and so you can't really escape from them. And people come up with personas or new personas all the time, like Vernon the Virus, hanging around in bathrooms. But said that, if you stick those on walls, it's like the service values that we have. It becomes blurry. If you look at them all the time. So what we do is actually, when we come together and discuss features, we're using persona cards. So we take these cards, and there are some questions on these cards that we can ask during our feature discovery journey. And then we actually go and take those cards with us to these meetings, and we play some cards with them. And they have different roles, different personas have different roles. So we play the cards, and then we argue with them. So we draw everything on big boards, and then we argue with them and said, hey, but William will use it like this. And we visualize actually the customer journey like this and put that on big walls. And these are accessible for everyone. So everyone in the company can go there and say, hey, but William will use it differently. I think William will use it differently, and make a note there. So our designers and developers that works on this feature can change that. So everyone gets involved. And everyone wants to get involved because we have passionate people, passionate developers. And be passionate about your software. And if you are passionate about your software, I mean, we spend 8 hours a day on working on our software, so we better be passionate about it. And if you work day in, day out on your software and think about your customer always and stuff like that, your software will look like this. Great product, shiny, nice. Your customer loves your product. Say, oh, that's so great, it's so good, and we love it. But can you change this small thing? That's a little bit annoying, but the rest is great. And then you say, okay, sure thing. I just open my IDE and look at the code, and your code looks like this. Ooh, no, not good. You may have thought about your customer very, very well and make the software great for your customer, but you have forgot that you're an engineer and that you have values too, your engineering values. And this is what I mean with balance your passion. You need to balance these stuff here. And I encourage you to write down your engineering values. Just to give you an idea what engineering values are for Atlassian is I give you three. We have, I think, 6 or 7 values. I just give you 3 examples here. So if we, for example, see code like this here, and I'm sure that's in every, in Jira and Confluence and Bitbucket somewhere hidden, maybe not that obvious, where you give it a Boolean and it returns the same thing, so it doesn't do anything. If we see that something like this, we should delete it. I mean, that's an obvious example, but we have a value that says, don't write crappy code. Don't write crappy code. And if sometimes people come to you and said, hey, we know you can do that in 1 day. I know it takes normally 1 week, but you can do that in 1 day just by writing crappy code. Say no. Say, no, we have engineering values, we don't do that. If you think this will harm the code and you cannot come back and fix that, say no. This is also very important for us. We have Jira is now 12 years old, so it's a very old product, and we have to say no, and we see some shortcuts that we took in the past and have to remove that. That's really painful. So that's why we have this engineering value. Don't write crappy code. All right, well, some other code example here. Well, it's a for loop, goes through an array, looks in the zip file if there's an entry, blah, 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 returns true if it finds the same name. Well, I think the code is okay. It's fine. Maybe you can change something and make it better, but I think generally it's okay. But if you use Java 8, you can do better. You can use the streams. Much nicer, much better. Always look for a better solution. That's another value that we have. Always find better ways or a better solution for your problem. Are people from Brazil here in the room? No? Okay, I can show the next slide then. Thank you. Well. So I'm from Germany, so obviously that makes me happy, and I like to show the slide always. Just let it suck for a minute. Okay, anyway. The point is here, if you look at the scoreboard, not every scorer here fit on the scoreboard. So there was some problems. A scroll bar would be a solution, but not good for television. So our value is try and find better ways to do stuff. Always try to find better ways. And I'm sure you have people in your team that are very passionate, that always try to find the best way by using the latest and greatest technology, and they are very passionate about it. They discuss things day in, day out. I call them the prima donnas. You may have prima donnas in your team, and I don't say this is a bad thing. Prima donnas are totally passionate, but sometimes they are focusing on the wrong things. So we actually have a value that says, let me just check that. Or turn your passion into products. So very important to turn your passion. When you have long discussions and code reviews, it's turn your passion into products. You have to bring those people to focus on your products. So very important value for us, turn your passion into products. And the thing is, you should write them down. Write your engineering values down. Actually, the Bitbucket team have a big poster in their team room, and they actually have written that down so they can point out. So if they have a long discussion, they can hey, turn your passion into the products. That's very important for us. So we stop the discussion here. We turn the passion better into the products than into the discussion itself. Or if somebody comes and say, hey, can you do that in 1 day? You say, hey, no, don't write crappy code. That's a very important value for us. and stand up for your values. And this is what I mean with balancing your passion. So on one hand, we have values, we are engineers, so we think about the code, make the code good, make the code better. And on the other hand, we have to think about the customer, and we have to balance that passion. All right. Being one team, also very important. Culture of being one team. So let's talk about teams. 12. 12 can be the natural team size, I don't know. But back in the Stone Age, when we were hunting the mammoth, we were around 12 people hunting the mammoth. So seems to be a natural team size. I don't know if it's good for programming teams. I don't think so. I come back to that later. Let's talking about another number here. 150. 150 is actually Dunbar's number. And Dunbar's number tells us how many stable relationships we can maintain. So if organizations grows above this 150, well, Dunbar's number is between 120, 180, depends on your organizations. But if companies grow above that number, what you get is then silos. You get silos. The cool people, I mean, we are developers, so we are obviously the cool gang there. And the legal people that dress up with ties and the not so cool guys. So we have this silos thinking, which is not very good. I mean, we all know that. It's really, really bad for your culture. We should bring those people together. So if we have for the developer that wants to use an open source license, and you go to your legal team and says, hey, can I use this license here? I want to use this library. And the legal team says, nope, not acceptable. Well, why don't you get it? It's very important for us to use it. It saves us so much time if we can use that license. And the legal team says, nope, you don't get it. You get frustrated. We have to bring those people better together to understand each other better. And if you think about the legal person like a guy like this here, yeah, he's an whatever, a jerk. So, hey, he's a bad guy. So, but if you think about your legal person like this, well, he's smiling. So let's just go over to him and explain why this is important, and we can have a conversation. It's much more personal. And bringing people together is very important for us. So every Atlassian that starts at Atlassian has to write an introductory blog post. Like Benjamin here, he's not a legal person. He's a designer actually. And every person the first week have to introduce themselves. And this is read by every Atlassian. So you can share some personal stuff here, and then the good thing is also you get in a conversation. So you can start a conversation and says, hey, I saw you're playing soccer, so let's meet on Thursdays. There's our soccer team playing, so let's meet on Thursdays or something like that. And that makes the company much more transparent. Transparency is so important for us. We share everything. We share our wins, our fails, our decisions, and our questions that we have. So, for example, our wins. Our design team has won this design award, and they were blogging about that. And everyone is reading that at Atlassian. So we share our wins. And also if we think our fails. So we're doing something we call 20% time, so we can use 20% of our working time to work on our own projects. But it's really not a 20% time at Atlassian. We measure it, so it's a 5% time or something. And that's really a fail. And at the same time, here Nick asks, hey, how can we fix that? How can we fix that again? That this is really important for us to drive innovation, 20% time. How can we fix that? Or if we got a question like our founder Scott Farquhar asked, how do you want to see Atlassian in the year 2016? How should it look? What are our goals for Atlassian in the year 2016? So he asked that questions, and then we got 182 answers from the Atlassians. So a lot of answers, a lot of ideas from the Atlassians, and then we can vote for the answers. And one of the highest voted answers was try to take that culture and somehow open source that, so everyone can use that culture. We don't know how that works, but we're trying stuff like that. So this is really important for us. Or if you're in these meetings, like we all do, also do at Atlassian, where you have the whole company comes together, and we call that all staff meeting, and then the CEO here, Mike, goes up the stage and explains how the company is doing, what are the next developments in the company, yada, yada, yada. You probably know that too. And then at the end, you ask, hey, has anyone got questions? And there's always the same guys that ask questions. Not me. I'm a shy guy. I'm afraid to ask questions because of two reasons. One reason is I ask a stupid question, I get embarrassed. The other thing is maybe I ask a provocative question and I get fired the next day. So I don't do that. You don't get fired by asking provocative questions, but I'm not that guy that asks questions in front of all this audience. So, and we have a lot of people like that. But we wanted to have questions from all over the company. So what we do is actually, before these events, we ask, hey, post your questions here, and then you can upvote questions. And no matter what the questions are, our founders have to answer the top 15 questions. How stupid they are, how provocative they are, they have to answer the top 15 questions. That's a rule. So that way, it gets much more transparent, the company. So transparency. We should know what's bad for our transparency. So we should know, because transparency is very important for us, we should know our transparency enemies, like the telephone. When we discuss things on the phone, that's not documented, nobody knows what we decided on the phone, so that's bad. Or email. We should avoid email as much as possible because decisions in emails, or we have to put the decision somewhere else that everyone can see that, and this is a transparent decision. So, or the water cooler. In America, the water cooler. In Germany, it would be the coffee table where we gather around and talk about stuff and make decisions there. Also here, that's the transparency enemy. And we want to be transparent. So what helps us to be more transparent besides blogging and documenting everything in Confluence? It's Chet. Chet helps us. So since we introduced Chet, I think we cut down 70% of our internal emails. We're still writing emails internally, but we tend to more chat with people. Because every team has a chat room. So every team has its own chat room where they can discuss things. And the good thing is if people are not currently in the chat room because they are in a meeting, or they are traveling, or they are sick, or they are at home, so they can go back actually here into the chat room and see the whole history and jump into the discussion that has been done 1 hour ago. But also we can chat with experts. It's sometimes you want an expert, maybe you need something. So for example, we currently introduced a VPN. So a lot of people had questions about VPN. So we created a room just for these questions. So people can go into that room and ask these experts. The good thing is you don't need a phone number from someone. You don't need to know a name from someone. You can just go into this chat room and you know there's an expert there. So for example, our build engineering team has an expert too. An expert room too, where so they are responsible for all the builds that are running, all the infrastructure. And if there's some questions here, they can ask this question, and they know all the topic experts are actually in that specific room. And then also we connect bots to our chat. So we know what our systems are doing. So we are hanging around in the chat all day, so it's a good thing that also our systems report into that chat room, so we know what's going on in our system. So for example, if somebody does a pull request, we can see that here and discuss if when I want to be a reviewer for that pull request. Or if the build failed, we can it's a chat message here telling us the build failed, and so we can jump into here and discuss who fixes the build. Or if a deployment happens, I get informed about new deployments. Or if some exception happened on the production system that we have never seen before, we also get a chat message and then can discuss, hey, you just deployed it, so maybe you introduced something really, really bad here, so can you fix that, please? And actually chat connects actually the whole organization. So not just the team itself, but also outside the team. For example, when we launched our HipChat server product, there was an initiative between marketing, PR, and engineering to make that a success. So they created this chat room where they were chatting about, can we put up the blog post now? What is with the pricing page? Is that up now for our customers? Is the product ready and uploaded, the latest version? Stuff like that. So it connects actually also cross teams. And transparency helps us to bring people better together. That's very important for us. And also, for me, I'm a remote worker. I work from Germany, and most my team sits in San Francisco, Austin, and Sydney. So that helps us actually also, transparency, to spread our culture. All right. Last thing I want to talk about is a culture that scales. Because I told you 350 when I started. We're now 1,700. how do we scale that? Let's talk about the numbers again. 12, I said, is a natural team size. I don't believe that it's good for development teams to be that big. So we have development teams that are 6 to 8 people. 8 people really extreme. 6 people is the norm, and this is the developer. And when I say developer, we have, of course, different people in there, sitting in there. So we don't just have developer, or what we call a coder or programmer. There's also designers sitting in the team, QA sitting in that team. So all these makes up the 6 people. And then if we don't need a designer anymore for the next sprint or for the next iteration, we give them to another team. He can go to another team, or she can go to another team and help them, because we have developer with design skills. So they are skilled developers. We trained them on design, so they can also design a button or something. Not the complicated stuff, we get a developer again. If we have complicated stuff, we ask, hey, can we get this developer? And he can go, or she can go to our team again. So said that is, if you're working on one product and your product grows, you probably have more teams working on the product, 6 to 8 people always. And so, and I think we now have, for Jira, we have 21 teams working on Jira right now. So this is really a lot, working on the same code base. And I think if things grow, companies tend to fall into the trap to make stuff like this. They have the front-end team, the performance team, and the database team, or something like this. So specialist for every team. And this gives really problems, because you get actually coordination problems in the team. Because normally a feature involves the front end, the performance, and the database. So every team is working on that. And you have to coordinate that somehow. And also you're missing the customer relation also. So if you're a database team, in the beta database team, there's no persona that we have. I want an awesome database. It's not there. So we tend not to do that. So for example, for Confluence, these are some Confluence teams. We have a team that cares about that you got an easy start with Confluence. So everything when you're new to Confluence, that makes it easy. Then we have a team that cares about big customers, so enterprises, make the performance better, but also how to represent, 10,000 users in the administration mask, or developer teams that cares about a better integration between our developer tools and Confluence. So these teams are autonomous. Actually, they do whatever they want. Not really, but I explain that. So, for example, some teams uses a tool for a task. The other teams doesn't use a tool for that at all. That's fine. Some teams meet when it's necessary. Other teams doing daily stand-ups. That's also good. Every team can do that like they want, because they are autonomous. We have autonomous teams. But sometimes you may need some support from another team. You cannot just develop things on your own. You need some support. So for example, if somebody some team developed a mobile app and you want to change something there, you need some support from that team maybe, because you don't understand everything in there. So what you could do is actually you can go to the expert or to the team lead of that team and say, hey, we need to change something. Can we get support from your team? And we're cool people at Atlassian. We say, yeah, sure, you can help, but we have other priorities, so please wait 2 sprints. 3 words. Just do it. We just do it. We just go and change things. Because that's what we call a duocracy. And our duocracy is built on autonomy on one hand, and we trust each other on the other hand. Said that is 21 teams working on Jira that are autonomous. That can go into the wrong direction, doesn't it? I mean, really, can be very scary if every team runs into their own direction and we trust them, but can go into the wrong direction. So we're adding actually transparency to the mix. So instead of having a big process setting up, we're saying we're transparent. So how does that look like? So for example, we currently, or 2 years ago, we added page layouts to Confluence, new thing called page layouts. So we were setting up this requirement page and shared that with all teams that are working on Confluence. So we shared that actually with everyone. So these are, and then people were commenting on that and says, hey, but think about enterprise teams a little bit more. How does that scale? And also people that had nothing to do with development actually commented on that one. And so we have a collective idea of what we want to build, and everyone gets involved in that. That's great. But then it comes down to changing other people's code, because other people have written the code and you have to change that, even though there's nothing like other people's code. I mean, we have a collective code ownership. We should have that. And actually, I think Spotify calls that internal open source, so they can change it and fork stuff. But at the end, you wanna be sure that you don't mess things up in the code that other people have written. So what are you doing? How do you make sure that you're doing that? You're adding code reviews. So you're doing a pull request or doing a code review and says, hey, can you look at my code? But who's actually the best? Who are the best people to actually check your code? Do you know that? What we did is actually in what we call now Bitbucket Server, or what formerly known as Stash. It's a Git repository manager, and we built this free plugin called Auto-Suggest Reviewers, and this plugin is suggesting reviewers automatically based on the fact if they have previously changed the file or are the original author of the file. So they must be the expert of that file, so we know that we can add them as a reviewer here. Okay, good. So collective requirements, collective code. How about that we check that we have the feature done correctly? So we're doing that through demos. So we're doing open demos, open for everyone. We're doing them regularly, and we get honest feedback. So if we see in a demo, when we show that feature, we see his team struggling with delivering, we say, okay, good, then we take 2 developers and add that to that team to make that delivering happen. Or QA says, have you tested this and this and this, actually, and looking at the demo. So this is our bureaucracy. And as I said, this transparency gives us more a lightweight control. It's not very heavy, so we don't have a big process that with some gates that has to be fulfilled. It's a lightweight control for us to develop, because for us, development speed is very, very important, and scale is very important. And this bureaucracy that scales for us by keeping, I won't say keeping our development speed, but trying to keep our development speed. If you add more people, there's a lot of more collaboration going on and a lot more discussion going on. So you will lose a little bit development speed, but we try to keep that. Okay, so to wrap this up, yeah, I have to wrap up now. So I talked about a lot of things here. I talked about transparency. I talked about autonomy and trust. I talked about balancing your passion, be one team, and have the customer in mind. Well, said that is we can say this is very important for us. This is our culture. And you still think, but Sven, that's still fluffy. It's still fluffy, and it's actually alive. I mean, culture changes. But we wanted to keep those important things that are important for us. So we wanted to give it a kind of a skeleton. So how can we make that better? So we said, okay, good, let's give it more sticky names or sticky sentences so people can remember actually that this is important for us. So we don't say transparency. We say open company, no bullshit. We don't say autonomy or trust. We say be the change you seek. We don't say be one team, play as a team, balance your passion, build with heart and balance, and have the customer in mind. We call that don't fuck the customer. And these things are very important for us. It goes really into what we discuss day in, day out. These are our values that we have. These values gives our culture more stability. And these values are really important. So if you go to an Atlassian, once meet an Atlassian and say, hey, tell me your 5 values, and they can tell you the values from the top of their head, because they are involved in every discussion that we have. We say, we can do that, but hey, come on, don't fuck the customer. Or you can do that the next week and say, hey, build with heart and balance. So I also have a social life. So it's very important. These things are very important for us and gives our culture more stability. And we remind people all the time about our values. So these are in the San Francisco kitchen hanging from our ceiling, and remind people that this is really important for us. These values are really mean something for us. Very, very important. All right. Almost out of time. I got one more thing. Okay. One more, and it actually has to do with Apple. and Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs once went on the stage a few years ago and introduced Ping, social network for music in iTunes. Great. And people were pretty passionate about developing Ping, I guess. But where's Ping now? It's gone. They removed it from iTunes again. So actually, and the same thing can happen for Atlassian. We work day in, day out on making Jira or Confluence or HipChat better or Bitbucket better. But to be honest, products come and go. But we want to build the next big thing with that team that we have. If nobody wants to buy Jira anymore, we know that we can build the next cool thing with that team that we have, because products come and go, but it's the culture that stays. Thank you.